So I'm back with Magic Dick. This is part 3, and we were talking about microphones and a clean sound versus a distorted sound. A lot of this has to do with really kind of the genre and the type of sound that you're looking for.
It really does. And it's a kind of a vast subject in a way.
It is, very much.
And a lot of the recordings that I've done with the Geils Band, some of those are pretty heavy with effects.
Yes.
You know, but the typical effect back then would be tape echo, slapback echo.
Right. Now, didn't you tell me that you played out of a really tiny amp for those?
Yeah, a lot of it was on a silver-faced Champ.
Right.
But the Champ was the signal chain was like a Green Bullet or an Ecstatic. Mm-hmm. Those are the typical mics I'd use.
Right.
Into this Echoplex unit.
Right.
So 4-channel.
Right.
You only needed one of the channels, but it was a 4-channel Echoplex, which used a tape loop to generate the echo. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I love this machine because it had a preamp built into it. The end result was you could overdrive the input of the Champ amp.
Right.
Because I didn't care for the sound of the Champ with the mic straight into it.
Right.
It's like a clean sound on a Champ just doesn't make it.
Right.
At least not on this Champ.
Right.
You know. But I found that by using this overdrive technique of just boosting the signal from the mic.
Now, were you
that
playing
would
like
give
a
that
bullet
edge.
mic?
That would give like that trumpet thing.
Yeah. Would you be playing a bullet mic or a?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I used the bullet quite a bit.
I was going to say, I mean, one thing I've always noticed about your playing in particular is that you kind of have a very defined sound in your playing, and a very, like, in other words, you tend to really chop your notes a lot of times. I mean, I'm not saying all the time, but that you use a lot of technique in terms of a crisp kind of cutoff.
Yeah,
on your notes.
I think of it as diction.
Right.
It's like talking. It's like speech.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me, the foundation of a musical part is based on vocalizations.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not fun to listen to somebody talk who's talk with it's just mush mouthing. You know, I think it was a combination. It started with the trumpet.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
learning
to read music and play stuff on the trumpet. You know, here's an aria, play this. You know, there's these exercises, play this. So all of those kinds of things were very specific. And when you're working with a trumpet teacher, you know, you'd have the sheet music in front of you, and you say, okay, look it over. And this would be something maybe you haven't even seen before. You know, so I'd look it over. You know, you count off 1, 2, 3, and start this piece. And you'd be lucky, with a good teacher, you'd be lucky if you even got 2 measures into it before he'd stop you.
Right.
You know? But it was through that kind of focus and that kind of training early on, you know, starting with trumpet in 3rd grade. It was through that I realized that these rhythm patterns, you know, that regardless of the melody that you see on a piece of sheet music, the rhythm is clearly defined, and you need to know how to interpret it. You need to know you need to know how a part is typically represented graphically, but you need to be taught what that means is this is how it should sound. You know, but you get to recognize things like 8th note triplets, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, dotted 8ths and 16ths, you know, like a dotted 8th and 16th, bum ba bum bum, you know, that bum ba bum. Those kinds of figures made a big difference to me, you know. And early on, it's like I got hip to this, that you got to play this stuff right, you know, otherwise you're nothing. You know, it's just like the clarity of how you play, the the precision. It takes precision to delineate rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's what it's all about: is
Right.
rhythm and melody.
Right.
And rhythm is supreme.
Yeah.
Rhythm is more important than any other. Is more important than melody.
Mm-hmm.
Or like if you're playing chords and stuff, if you play a wrong chord, it's a wrong chord, but you can get away with it.
Right.
But if your rhythm is bad, you suck.
Right. Nobody can play with you.
It's just that
That's
simple.
the problem. Nobody can play with you.
Yeah, so
Which is what made Sonny Terry so amazing.
Sonny Terry is just like,
is that his rhythms were just so...
he's virtually uncopyable.
Yeah, he pretty much is. Yeah. I mean, the fact that he could play things where he was changing the rhythm like every bar practically.
Unbelievable.
And still making it work as a solid, straight through.
A seamless foot tapping thing that is like, wow.
It's really amazing.
And all those train things that he did.
Lost John and stuff like that.
Lost John is truly amazing.
Yeah, really amazing.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. You and I went through a period
so we
there where
we did go through some stuff with that, and it was like, I mean, I made a point of trying to learn that last year or the year before, and it's like I kind of bounced a lot of stuff off of you and a number of other players,
Right. And I remember we were talking I was hipping you to this thing of that, and you had commented about it, that when you start working on Sonny Terry stuff, if you haven't really gotten into it but tried to play it before, you begin very quickly to realize that the entire breathing pattern, the entire process is very different from Chicago style.
Huge. It's almost
it's just like
it's really in a different time signature completely.
It's just completely.
It's almost on the 1 and the 3 instead of the 2 and the 4 or something.
It's just really something else,
It is something.
And if you're not used to it, that whole thing of getting your body to breathe that way, is tricky.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, what would you say your favorite song from your career would be? I mean, obviously Whammer Jammer is the song that was kind of your, signature song, and I remember, back in the day when I first heard you, that was a song that every harp player that was serious kind of had to know how to play that.
Yeah, it's kind of like become a litmus test.
Right. If you can play that, it's like, that's your kind of your pass.
But it's not my favorite.
Right.
I feel very fortunate to have a song like that's associated with me. But what goes along with the Whammer Jammer thing is the high note stuff.
Right.
And in a sense, to be known for that high note thing as a form of recognition, like you hear that and you're, it's Magic Dick.
Yeah.
Of course, I got it from Jimmy Reed, and I got it from Jimmy Reed, and oddly enough from John Coltrane too.
Right.
But the Whammer Jammer thing has become, like I said, I'm grateful to have it. It's something that I perform most of the time.
Right.
But it's not my favorite.
Right.
It's sort of more obligatory.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, that's what happens when you get popular.
Yeah.
You're stuck with those songs.
But my favorite is more something that I sang, actually. I did a rendition of Fool That I Am, which I was inspired by Etta James doing it. And she got it, I believe, from Dinah Washington.
Right.
But so my singing of Fool That I Am was for me a great success. When I hear myself singing that, and other people have commented on it, it's like, man, I can sing, with real feeling, you know. It's not just like doing Be Careful,
Right.
So that recording stands out to me. And I'm sure like 5 minutes from now, I'll think, I should have said, because it's hard to pick out a favorite from all of this stuff.
Right.
But I wouldn't say necessarily that the favorite has been the Geils stuff. Although in total, because of the way I developed this style of playing with the band, in total, that's a big deal for me.
Right.
Even like Give It To Me, for example.
Right.
You know, Give It To Me, where the harp is going da 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 da.
Right.
You know, and I'm playing that squawk sound.
Yeah. And again, it's very meticulous.
Meticulous, rhythmically
very
defined
meticulous
clarity.
Playing on
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That squawking sound, I use that a lot in my style.
Do you?
And that comes from John Lee Williamson, Sonny Boy One.
Okay. All right.
You know,
Interesting.
Junior
Yeah.
Wells also used that stuff a
Right.
lot.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so that became the element of blues playing that I've used kind of the most with the Geils Band.
Mm-hmm.
That squawking sound combined with lyric lines.
Right.
That's a hallmark of my sound and my style.
Right.
You know, I owe that squawking thing to Sonny Boy One.
Right.
John Lee Williamson, who was a genius.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And one of the most prolific songwriters ever.
Yeah.
He had so many songs.
Yeah.
So
sure
many
did.
great recordings.
And so many songs that have become, you know, like Tampa Red's another one that these two guys, you know, Bill Brunsey, that all these guys really kind of came up with the architecture for what became 50s Chicago blues.
Yeah.
And that everybody borrowed off of their styles.
Right. And using the drum kit was John Lee, you know.
Exactly.
Those sessions with John Lee Williamson.
Yeah. Judge Riley
started using drums.
Right.
Piano, drums, acoustic bass.
It was really the first, you know, electric blues bands in a sense.
And
because they had electric guitar, they had...
They're astounding.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I love that.
Yeah,
Just
I do
love
too.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I look at those as the architecture for the Muddies and Little Walters and all the guys.
And now some of those lyrics, like, you know, some of those songs like Good Morning Little Schoolgirl.
Right.
Well, you can't you can sing it today, but you probably shouldn't.
Yeah, people think you're a pedophile.
You know? And there's a whole lot of them like that.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, Elevator Woman.
Right.
You know,
Elevate Me Mama.
You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in Berkeley you'd get in big trouble for.
But they have this poetic imagery that is superb.
Yeah,
absolutely. And both of those Sonny Boys, 1 and 2, were absolutely brilliant poets.
They were.
They were as great with words as the music.
Yeah. There's one I recorded called Good Gal that I loved the lyrics to, and I love the way he sang it. And at the same time, I mean, that song is really the predecessor to Can't Hold Out Much Longer by Little Walter.
I love that one.
That whole melody is taken from that.
I wanted to do Can't Hold Out Much Longer on this tour we're doing.
You could do it.
I found I had to really lower the key quite a bit.
Right.
You know, this whole period that we had because of the COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't played for like 2 years. This is the first time I've been out in 2 years, you know. And I found that my voice has gotten deeper. You know, I can't sing as high in my range as I used to.
Right.
And I had been thinking, well, just keep vocalizing, just keep working on it. It'll come back. You know, a lot of times you can extend your range by really working on it methodically, you know. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't extending in the way that I was thinking that it was. You know, I'm not sure.
The other thing that Brown and McGee told me a long time ago is he goes, always sing in your key. Mm-hmm. He goes, don't try to sing in the original key if it don't fit you.
Yeah,
and that's great advice.
It really is great. It's extremely important advice, and it took me a long time. It took me until now, really, to start really getting serious about that advice.
Right.
You know.
Right. And picking songs that feel right for your voice.
Yeah. That's really, really important.
It's huge.
Because you don't want to be reaching.
No.
Although,
I like reaching for stuff.
There is stuff like Marvin Gaye.
I like
give an
reaching
example.
for stuff. Yeah.
There is a stuff like when Marvin Gaye does "Stubborn Kind of Fella."
Right.
You know, whoever produced that record had him singing way up, had him singing high.
Yeah.
Because the effect of straining for some of those
Right.
phrases,
It sounds good.
it adds.
It can sound good.
It adds a lot to that
that's
thing,
right.
you know. Where
It makes it sound real.
Yeah, and where he's
That's what it
almost not quite making
Yeah.
it, you know.
It makes it sound real. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the things that I get real tired of kind of in today's music scene is this thing of perfect melismas and all that.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that's really, it's kind of kills the whole idea of melody.
Yeah.
You know, when you get too twirly with the vocals.
Yeah, I'm not big on a lot of that. Although, if I were better at doing some of that, I might feel differently.
I'm
about
sure.
it, you know?
I'm sure.
It's nice to be able to whip off some curly cues.
It's nice to be able to do it when it's needed.
Yeah, but it's not something I focus on.
Right. Exactly.
I'm happy if I can just deliver the song.
Exactly.
In fact, I find
that's really what it's about.
I find that the more I focus on directly communicating to the audience the song.
Yeah.
You know, what is this song? You know,
Right.
get into the lyric and deliver it in such a way that it's a spontaneous presentation, even though you've done it many times.
Right.
Each time it needs to be fresh, even if you know it's stone cold. You have to make it fresh every time.
And that's just getting into the lyrics.
That's being in the moment with it.
In the moment.
You
with the
really got to
lyrics.
be in the moment with the song.
Yep.
And you got to be in the moment with a couple of these people that are in like the first couple of
Right.
rows that are like, yeah, man, you know.
And that's fun.
That is the
To
fun
me,
of it.
that's fun.
And once it becomes fun, then you do much better.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
If you try to make it
Being
too...
self-conscious will...
Oh, it's the worst.
It's the biggest enemy of trying to perform.
Exactly. And we've talked about this where like the moment any doubt creeps in,
You're dead.
you're dead. If you start worrying, okay, I got this phrase. If you start worrying about if you're going to hit that note, you're dead.
See, but to me, one of the things that's really fun about, especially the blowout shows in particular, is having these artists on it that everybody is kind of like, you're having to follow people that are putting definitely putting the pressure on, and at the same time, it's really fun to try to kind of top whoever you're following, and it doesn't mean that you're topping them. It just means you're keeping up. And
It's keeping your focus on your
focus.
thing. Yeah. I wanted to tell you, by the way, earlier when we were talking about this, that this whole thing that you've been doing for 30 years now with the blowouts, this being the 30th annual.
Yeah.
The more I've done these with you, and we've done quite a few together.
Yeah, we've done
The more
a ton.
I've done of these with you, the more I realize what a brilliant idea it was for you to do this.
Well, thank you.
Because harp players learn so much. All musicians learn from each other.
That's right.
And put together in this particular way, where one guy's following the next, a review.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
It's
every
kind of
night-
old school, really.
It is old
It's
school.
old school, yeah.
It's old school.
Yeah.
But it's a way of putting the pressure on you in an essential way.
Right.
Because somebody just went out there, did their best, and you go, damn. You know, and it's like, what am I going to do now?
Yeah.
You know?
But the funny thing is, I get myself into a place where I go, we're all different.
Yeah.
And that's really where I go, we're all different, and every one of us has something of our own that we can put into it and contribute that makes it still relevant.
Right.
And that's the important, because everybody is on a certain level.
Oh yeah, all
things.
these
Yeah,
guys.
there's
are
nobody
great.
that's a slouch in this thing.
I love Aki is like,
Aki's awesome.
man,
Yeah, he's really awesome.
that guy has really come along.
And
like,
John,
fit.
and
everybody,
John Emmett and Sugar.
everybody,
Yeah.
they're real strong in what they do.
I agree.
Yeah. It can sometimes put me in a place of like, oh man, like,
No, you're doing great though, man.
thanks.
You're doing
But
great.
you get, like you were saying, it's like you have to get to a point where like it doesn't matter what they did.
That's right. And that is the point.
It doesn't
That
matter
is the
what
point.
anybody else did.
Right.
All that matters is you have to communicate when you get out there on stage.
That's right.
You can't just be in your own little shell and
No.
I'm gonna blow and do my
No.
thing. No, you have to put it out.
You have to put it out to the audience.
And that's what all these guys do. They
Right.
really put it out.
Right.
And this band you have, man, you have the best mother bands.
Thank you.
Man. And
Well,
Wes on drums.
I've made a real point of trying to really build it up over the years, you know, to have a band that can cover everybody's stuff.
It's fantastic what these guys can do.
Yeah.
And Wes on drums.
Oh yeah.
Is honestly,
Yeah,
Wes is the best blues drummer I've ever played with.
Yeah. And he's a great roots drummer. He can play anything. He can play swing, he can play jazz, he can play country, he can play rock, he can play it all.
And he's got an unconventional way of playing the drum.
Unconventional.
He's a true joy to work with and to watch.
Yes.
All these guys, you know.
That's right.
Anson Funderburg, Anson and Bob Welsh.
Yep.
Man, I haven't even heard 1/1,000,000th of what these guys can do.
Randy Bermudez. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all great.
They're all wonderful, man. They really are. And every time I played with you, and you've had different guys,
right?
You know, every time it's been really great. But I think this current aggregation is maybe the best.
It's a great group.
It's really fun. You know? I'm happy as a pig. You know.
Thanks for coming out, Dick.
Thanks, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Mark.
And you're a real good guy to know, and it's great because we got a lot closer, I think, over the over COVID.
Yeah, we really did.
And the fact that you said to me after the last blowouts in 2020, you said, if you ever want to learn about music theory and chromatic and stuff like that, I'd love to help you. And it's been really cool to develop our friendship a lot more.
Yeah,
as a result of that.
And we've talked so far and wide about so much stuff.
Everything. Yeah.
Books, movies.
Right. Right. Well,
and you're an incredible film buff.
I am a film buff.
I enjoy movies, but I'm not at the level you are. With
I'm ridiculous. I probably watch one every other day.
Yeah. Most of the time, what happens with me is I'm channel surfing,
Right.
And I'll see something come up, a movie.
Right.
I don't care if it's like, what I like to do is if it's in the middle of some movie, I like to guess exactly where in the full length of the movie is it.
Right.
And you can tell from,
That's a fun way to watch movies.
And most of the time, I'm really spot on with it. Like, this is a quarter way into this movie. Or this is at the 2/3 point,
No, it's fun to kind of find movies again that you've seen before.
Yeah.
I watched one the other day like that. It was like I had not watched it in a long time, and I was like halfway in, and I went, wow.
Yeah.
I think it was the movie with Adam Sandler where he plays a jeweler. What was that called?
Oh.
It's a hell of a movie.
Adam Sandler's
He's got to be really good.
He's a very decent actor.
He's a very decent actor.
The times that the Geils Band, when we worked with him, where he has a band on the set, featured in some of his movies. There's this whole series that he did, where parties at his house kind of thing. We did one of those.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah, I forget what it was called. I know it the moment I hear it. I'm just not thinking. Oh, it's on a lot.
Is it?
Yeah.
And that was the Geils Band?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But during that process, I got to watch him in action because he directs his movies too. He's quite a film guy.
Yeah.
And he directs them. And watching him give direction to an actor, I learned from watching him do that this guy knows his acting stuff.
Yeah.
He knows how to make suggestions about, or how to say something.
Right.
And that's
kind of like being a good record producer.
Exactly.
Same thing.
Yeah. And the thing of being a decent actor is, it's like being a musician.
Yeah. Very much.
Nuance really matters.
Right.
Really matters.
And underplaying sometimes.
Yeah.
Instead of overplaying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like...
Silences.
Yeah.
There's so many different
And you wouldn't have known this, like the first time I ever saw him was on Saturday Night Live.
Right. And it was totally different.
He's just this crazy guy,
Yeah, right.
But seeing him actually and being involved with the movie thing, it's like, wow.
Interesting.
And a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, we better get to the gig, buddy.
All right.